Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Hi, my name is Ferry, and I'm learning to open my YouTube channel with just improvisation of Sat Nam. Sat means truth and Nam is our identity. And that's something I learned within my Kundalini yoga practice. Every inhale I'm thinking the word Sat, and every exhale I'm thinking the word Nam. Later on in this video I'm going to teach you the basic foundation of breath work as well. I love to teach my students in workshops and in private sessions the value of coming back to Sat Nam. You could be sitting in traffic, getting upset, feeling the blood pressure rise, and you could just shut the music off and shut everything around you off and just start doing some breath work in the car, start thinking Sat Nam, start feeling Sat Nam. So I start to sing it every morning now. It resonates and it vibrates that I'm going within myself, that the answers aren't going to be found outside of myself. Yes, I've had many healers along my journey, and they've given me these tools that now I give to my students to empower them to be their own healers. My first probably 10 videos, you're probably seeing that I'm talking about The Keepers, the documentary. So I'm going to continue that process. I'm now talking about episode 3-4-ish, and the first point I want to make is Jane Doe talks about how she unravels remembering all the severe sexual abuse she endured in her high school years. I think what she explains to us is very valuable information. She expresses how talk therapy isn't really the arena where she feels, I think her soul feels safe enough to get to that vulnerable place. And I know for myself, I have my own story of severe childhood abuse. And I did not unravel that through traditional Western conventional techniques. I unraveled it through pretty much what I do, which if you go to heatherferry.com you'll learn. I unraveled it through energy healers and Kundalini brain work and Kundalini medical meditations and breath work. I unraveled it through my healers, the healers that I went to, and through my time alone, my quiet space. And that is what she's expressing in the documentary, is that when she finds her space at home, her private settings where she's breathing and meditating and going deep within the soul's getting comfortable enough to unravel and be vulnerable enough to start to release some of the story. And so I felt that that was really important to get across to you. Many times when clients come to me and they're filling out the medical form and I'm sitting there, I know what information they're sharing and what information they're not sharing, because I'm also an intuitive energy healer now. And usually it takes 2 or 3 sessions before that person reveals more about their story and their trauma. And I'm okay with that, because I understand how scary it is, and you want to feel that you're in a safe, loving environment to be able to share your darkest secrets and then to be able to heal them. So I always feel very honored when someone feels comfortable enough to cry in front of me, to scream in front of me. That's part of the healing process. I believe that we are desensitizing people in our society. I know I see it within my family system. I see it within my community. I think it's important to really pay attention to the movies and the television shows that you're watching from a soul level. I believe that we are compromising our values and our character. We're watching violence and inappropriate behavior and not realizing that it is actually affecting the way we think, the way we see something within our lens. And I'm going to give you an example. I believe I was born a yogi, and I believe that everything planned out the way it was supposed to within my family system. My parents were absolutely perfect. With that said, my mother abused me severely. And I remember coming home from school, and at 3 o'clock was her soap opera that she would watch, and we needed to leave her alone. And I remember being in the kitchen and listening to the soap opera and thinking to myself, does she really think this is real life? It just, the dialogue seems so unrealistic to me. And yet, this was part of her teaching tools. Because back then there was not that many resources as we have right now. Especially, look, I'm on YouTube right now. And so, when I was listening to the dialogue, the one thing that really bothered me was, you know, somebody could be physically abused or raped, and the next day they'd get a gift or they'd cover it up and everything was fine. And I thought, this just isn't the way it works in society. I mean, when you physically hurt somebody, they have damage that lingers and affects every moment, every second of their day until that's healed. And most people, that isn't healed. You know, I'm a rare case because I'm a healer, and so I spent 20 years every day, full-time job, healing myself, rewiring my brain. But who has the time to do that or the tools? You know, now I know how to do it faster. I believe that that's why this all happened in my life. But so the first thing is I think that pay attention to what you listen to, because it actually is affecting your soul. The other thing that she mentioned was the disassociation, which is very common. And for me personally, I was choked in a chair as a child over and over again. So every time I sat in a chair, I checked out. Yeah, so I had trauma in the connective tissues of my glutes as well as in my legs. And that's a whole other story about how, you know, I released that. But it's amazing because right here at this moment, I'm sitting on a stool and I'm present and I'm looking at you and I'm speaking my truth. So I'm just an example, just like Jane Doe's an example, just like this documentary is an example, that when we share and when we reach out and we find the community that's going to support us, we can heal. We heal faster doing it together. In Kundalini Yoga, we do one nostril breath work, so I'm going to teach you that today. So you're going to sit up nice and tall. You're going to take your right hand and cover your right nostril, and other hand's going to be on your belly. You're going to take a deep inhale, and hopefully your belly's expanding. And then you're going to take a deep exhale through the nose, and your belly pulls in. This is how the breath works. Every inhale, your belly expands. Every exhale, your belly slowly comes in. Now, right now, we're working on opening the left nostril, which deals with calming the nervous system, relaxing that fight-flight, opening up the channels of intuition. So you can do this for a couple minutes. It's great to do at night before bedtime. But now we're going to switch sides for a moment. Cover the left nostril and begin breathing deep and long. Keep your hand on the belly. We have muscle memory. Make sure your belly is actually going in the right direction. So when you inhale, the belly goes out. And when you exhale, the belly slowly comes in. We're opening up the right side, which deals with focus, mental clarity, the ability to take action. And you can work on that a couple minutes every day. Great to do in the morning to start off your day. One nostril breath. Jane Doe brings up the terror and the fear she feels when she's taking legal action and trying to work with the diocese and the church, of how she might have to sit in the same room with her abuser. Whew, that really brought up a lot for me personally, because when I came out and needed my space from my mother, there were a lot of things that happened. One, I was in fight-flight mode, trying to get the trauma out, PTSD. But the other was I felt like my family abandoned me. Whether they were consciously aware of it or not, they just sort of disappeared. And that was extremely heartbreaking for me. I think it happens a lot with victims. I know it does with the clients that have come to me. And I would get letters and letters from my mother every couple months, and the dialogue is basically, I'm hurting the family system by not showing up at family events. Well, the truth is actually I'm hurting myself by showing up at family events and seeing you, because it's triggering unconsciously messages in my body and brain that I'm in danger. And then that sets up my hormone imbalance, that sets up my immune system depleting. And so when I finally took ownership of my well-being and health and said, no, I'm going to create strong, healthy boundaries for me, my health drastically changed. And this is something I educate my trauma clients on, and I want to educate the public on, is that if you have chronic abuse, seeing your abuser can be devastating to their health. And I could probably do hours and hours of lectures on that, but I just wanted to introduce the subject matter. And when she talks about disassociation, she talks about amnesia, which I had in and out throughout my life. The one thing she does know is when you feel that terror, you know that there's truth there. And I really related to that statement, because there came a point where I was absolutely terrified to not only see my mother, but to speak to her. So an example is, before I left my family system, my brother had a picnic. And I was sitting at a picnic table talking to a few relatives. And one of the relatives came up and he put his hand behind my neck in the position sort of what you would do if you were choking somebody. Now, he was not aware of my family history. He was not educated on the fact that I had told my brother and father that I had been choked repeatedly in childhood. So what happened is, when he put his hand there, I actually went into disassociation. And I was about to scream. And I was in this realm of, oh my gosh, what do? I want to scream. I can't scream. I'm in the backyard. People are going to stare at me. And it was a really confusing moment, and I wasn't happy about it. And he was laughing because he was doing it from a joking point of view, not aware of my story. And I was trying to figure out how to get back to reality, and I just kind of looked at him and had his arm, took his hand off my neck. Yeah, so now you get to learn a little bit about what our lives are like as victims. When she talks about coming in and out of amnesia, I believe that the Kundalini medical meditation work, the Satanama that I teach in my videos before this, really set the stage for me to start to heal the frontal cortex of my brain and start to retrieve my memories and the reality of where I was at. And I have to be honest with you, it's a game changer. Because it's no life living in darkness and running around in circles and having PTSD and panic attacks and not knowing why. And it is much better to move through the darkness, the problems, the obstacles to get to the light. The last thing Jane Doe mentions is in this episode, she mentions ripping off the masks. I've used masks early on in my 20s when I was in show business, in different theatrical works that I created. But that was just such a powerful statement. In the healing arts, a lot of clients come to me and they do want the magic pill, and they do want it all healed in a day. And unfortunately, if you read my book is coming out on my life, you will really understand the journey of a victim, because that's why I wrote the book. I wrote the book to explain what it takes and what our lives are like as we're going from healer to healer, as we're unraveling mask from mask from mask. Hundreds of layers for me because of the chronic abuse. It wasn't just a one-time deal. And so it is a process. It's like peeling an onion. I'm sure you've heard that. And you think, and as soon as you think that you're healed, there's just another layer and you're like, really? Really? So I know how that feels. But it's worth doing the work. So before we finish, let's go back to the one nostril breathing again to review. So sit up tall. We want to make sure our chest is open. Cover the right nostril. Other hand over the belly. Take a deep inhale as the belly expands. Take a deep exhale as the belly slowly comes in. Switch sides. Opening up the right nostril. Inhale, the belly expands. Exhale, the belly slowly comes in. And you can continue to do that after this video is done, working on one nostril breathing, closing your eyes, thinking in your third eye, inhaling the word sat, exhaling the word nam. Tune into my next episode on the keepers. And if you can, subscribe to my channel below. I'd love to hear any comments or questions. Blessings.